Hey friends, how's it going? My name is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel, and this video is going to be a mix of a couple of different things. Because if you couldn't tell from the title of this video, I'm gonna be moving very soon, once again. Earlier this year, I actually moved back in with my parents, me, Rachel, and her boyfriend Obed. We had been living together in our apartment for quite some time, and so we decided to move back into my parents' house earlier this year so that we could save up some money and potentially get a house. The house market in Washington right now, and I'm sure in most parts of the world, is still really terrible and just really unaffordable. So we ended up actually finding this 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment that's kind of in the area. So we're gonna be close to my parents, and it's exciting, you know, because we're gonna get a whole extra bedroom of space for like an office space, which is gonna be amazing because I work from home now. And I think it's just gonna be really nice. Like, and the rent isn't even that expensive, especially compared to our last apartment. We're only paying a little bit more than we used to when we get a whole extra bedroom of space. I feel like this apartment's gonna be so much nicer than our old apartment because we get twice the amount of square footage in this new apartment than we did in our old apartment. So hopefully it won't feel nearly as small as our last place. And I'm really excited. We're actually gonna be moving very soon in the first week of November, so it's coming up very quickly. So that's kind of the reason for today's book unhaul. I do this every time I move, where I feel this panic of like, oh my gosh, do I really want to take all of these books to a new place with me? And then I just start to unhaul a lot of things because I'm like, I don't want to take all of this, you know, like I don't need all of it. So it really forces me to, you know, be realistic and be like, okay, what can I get rid of? What can I unhaul? So today's video is kind of going to be a mix of things. We're going to be doing a book unhaul, but then I also recently just hit 80,000 subscribers on this channel, which, like, holy shit, that's just so crazy and so mind-boggling, and I just appreciate all of you so much. Like, that is a number I never even fathomed. Like, that number never even, you know, it's so crazy to even imagine. 80,000? Like, what the heck? And so because I've almost made it kind of like a tradition on my channel now, every time I reach another milestone, I do like a fun like Q&A kind of video. So I thought I would also do an 80K Q&A, and I did get some questions from Instagram that I have saved. I have exactly the same amount of questions as books that I'm unhauling, so I figured how I would do this is I would show you like 5 books that I'm gonna unhaul, and then I would answer 5 questions for the Q&A and just kind of go back and forth in that way. I don't really know what this video is, you know, we're just gonna wing it. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being subscribed. Thank you so much. It really does mean the world to me. Okay, so starting off this unhaul with 5 different books that I'm planning to unhaul, I figured I would start with the books first. The first book that I'm planning to unhaul is Pieces of Her by Karen Slaughter, because this is a backlist book that I've had for quite some time now. This is actually kind of a bummer because I did get this copy from New York. I got this one when I was on a trip in New York, and I really thought I would love this book, but I ended up giving it 1 star. I read this a couple months ago now for one of my friends was having a live show for her book club, and I read it with her, and we both hated it. So kind of a bummer that I ended up hating this one as much as I did, because I wanted to be able to keep this book forever because I bought it in New York, but I'm sorry, I can't bring this with me because I gave it 1 star and it gives me bad vibes now. And then I figured along with that one, because I ended up not liking that one as much as I did, I think I am also going to be unhauling Girl Forgotten by Karen Slaughter. This was actually a book that I picked as my book of the month selection before I had actually read Pieces of Her, because I just assumed once again that I would love it. So like, joke's on me because I didn't like it, and now I have to unhaul this book too. I know some people say that the sequel's different and that it's like not the same, that you can still enjoy it, but my thing was with Pieces of Her is that I didn't like the protagonist. Like, she drove me absolutely nuts, and this is following the same protagonist, so like I don't want to read any more from her. No thanks. One romance book that I'm going to be getting rid of that I'm kind of sad about is Love and Other Disasters. This is a romance that I did enjoy. You know, I gave this one 3 stars, I think, but these days any romance books that aren't like top favorites, like 4 stars or higher, or that I can't see myself rereading in the future, I don't really see a reason to hold on to them any longer. So that's mainly the reason why this one's going to be going. Same goes for The Sweetest Remedy. This is one that I also did enjoy. It was like a 3, maybe like a 3.5 stars for me. It was not a new favorite romance, and so therefore I'm going to be unhauling it, which is kind of sad. I do really like this author's writing style though, and I'm definitely still going to be picking up her future books. And then the 5th book that I'm going to be unhauling is Pretty as a Picture by Elizabeth Little. This is a book that I've recently just read it for a video where I read your thriller recommendations. And again, this is one that I did enjoy. It was about a 3-star book, but I kind of did mention in that video that this book reminds me a lot of the book Runtime, and I enjoyed that one even more than this one. So I feel like, if anything, I'm going to try to get my hands on Runtime, which is a book that I would recommend over reading this one. So there you go. All right, so question number 1 is, have you listened to 17? Which, yes, I have. If you don't know, 17 is a K-pop group that consists of 13 men, not 17, which I was surprised by. But yes, I do like 17. My favorite songs are Anyone, Ready to Love, and Rock With You. Those are like my 3 that I have on repeat, but I do like their most recent album too. I enjoy it. The next question is there a video idea you've had for a while but haven't been able to make yet? And like, oh my god, yes, so many. I swear I've had some ideas that I've had for years, and I just keep like pushing it off, or I'm like, it's not the right time, it's not gonna happen right now. There was this one video I was trying to do last year, and it was a space horror video, like reading books that are dedicated to space horror, but then I DNF'd the first 2 books that I was reading for that video, and everything just went really wrong. But I had everything planned, like everything. I had space, like sounding music, I had sound effects, I like remade my intro for the video, like all cool and like space-like. Like literally everything was scheduled, and it didn't go to plan at all, and now it's just scrapped for now and kind of pushed back. I also would love to do videos like reading books with Black Mirror vibes or something like that, but I feel like I just keep pushing it back because I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't do this video until Black Mirror is really popular again, like when the next season comes out. Top 5 BTS songs, and have you started listening to any other K-pop groups? This is nearly impossible because I've just been listening to so much BTS and I have so many favorites from them. I actually do have a Spotify playlist that's like all of my favorite BTS songs, so if you want to check that out, I'll have that link down below. But I think as of now, I think for me, my top 5 have got to be Black Swan, Life Goes On, Home, Microcosmos, and then maybe Just One Day or Pied Piper. I don't really know. Pied Piper has grown on me so much. Like when I first heard that song, I was like, yeah, it's cute. And now I listen to it like constantly. And yes, I do listen to some other K-pop groups. I'm not as like passionate of a fan of other K-pop groups as I am of BTS, but I do like 17, like I mentioned. I do really like Monsta X. I like their group. I listen to a lot of their songs, and a lot of their songs are in English, which really surprised me. And I also do listen to a little bit of Blackpink, like not a ton, but I did like their most recent album. I thought it was pretty good. The next question's from Bree, and she asked, what's been your top 3 moments of Booktube? And to be honest, this was hard because I feel like I've had so many wonderful moments and things that have come out of Booktube, and so it was hard to narrow it down, but I feel like the number one thing that I've gotten out of Booktube is getting really close friendships with people that I don't think I could have had otherwise, you know? Being friends with people in the community and, you know, with other booktubers, like it really means the world to me because now I feel like this is my workspace in a way, you know? And like these people are not only my co-workers in a way as like other booktubers, like there's somebody who does what I do and they understand. And it just means the world to me to have close friends on Booktube and to be able to do like reading sprints and live shows with them and just hang out and like have so much fun. And my second big thing is starting a book club. You know, like starting the book troop has been such joy, like such a thing that brings me so much joy. It's a really great way for me to not only connect like with my own community, like of everyone who reads the book troop picks with me every month, but also to be able to like invite co-hosts and to like choose which books are going to be and have my Patreon now vote on like which books we're going to read together. It's just so much fun. Like it just makes reading more fun. And then the third thing I think would be starting a Patreon. Like I know it's so cheesy and cliche, but like having a small group of people that you can just like update and like talk to and do reading sprints with, like I've really gotten to know some of the people on my Patreon, you know, and it's so fun to have this cute little community over there. I just love it so much and I don't take it for granted at all. I think starting a Patreon is like one of the best things that I've ever done. It's a really fun time over there. Okay, and the last question before we get back to the books is, do you have any booktube goals for 2023? And yes, I have so many. I mean, as mentioned, I have so many video ideas that I've been trying to plan for years that just haven't happened that I am going to be planning for 2023. But also, I do have a really fun idea for next year on how my Patreon in some way is going to be able to control some of my TBR every single month. So that's kind of an idea that I have. I'm still playing with it right now, but I'm so excited about it and I can't wait to talk more about it and figure out how exactly it's gonna work. Okay, let's unhaul some more books, shall we? Another book that I I think I'm unhauling is Breathless, and this is mainly just because this is a thriller that I got from Book of the Month. I was really intrigued by it at first, but I did actually start this one. I started listening to it on audio, and I only got about 10% in before I was kind of bored, and I just couldn't pay attention to it and figure out what exactly was happening. And then also, I saw this book started getting some really low reviews. Like, it's just not getting the best reviews, and so I was like, you know, I don't think I'm missing out too much if I decide to unhaul this book. And then the next book I'm gonna be unhauling is The Girl in the Mirror, this is another thriller that came from Book of the Month. I've had this sitting on my shelves since October 2020, so it's been sitting on my shelves for 2 years now, and like, let's be realistic, if I haven't gotten to a thriller within 2 years, then am I really that excited to read it? Like, probably not. Because thrillers are the books that I gravitate towards. Like, as soon as I have it in my hands, I'm like, let's go, let's read it. And I think the main reason why I'm just not as excited for this one is because I'm just over the like twins in thrillers kind of trope. Like, it's so boring, it's so overdone, like I'm just not interested in that anymore. So it's getting unhauled. And then another thriller is going to be The Damage. This is actually one that I did read. And this book it's hard to even talk about because I don't have anything negative really to say about this book. It's just more of a me thing lately. I gave this book around 3 stars, I think, personally, and this book feels a lot more like a family drama to me than a thriller, but this one deals with a lot of very heavy subject matter, and it just wasn't something that I feel like I was in the right headspace to read, and I just don't see myself, you know, ever wanting to reread this or talking about this book very much in general, so I feel like I need to unhaul this one as well. And then one that does make me kind of sad to be unhauling is The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead, which I know you're all gonna gasp and hold your breath and cancel me, and I know this is a lot of people's favorite thriller of this year, but this is a book that I just thought was fine. It just didn't really do it for me, and I feel like because everybody else seems to be loving this book so much, I feel like it's almost wrong for me to just be holding on to it knowing that I just thought it was okay and it was like a 3-star book for me when there are other people out there that would probably really like this and really love to find this book at, like, you know, Value Village or something. So like I need to pass it on to another person, you know? It's just a little too heavy for me. Like, the violence against women in this book was just a little too, like, not fun to read. And then another book that I'm going to be unhauling is Girl A by Abigail Dean, and this is once again another thriller from Book of the Month that I've just had sitting on my shelves for too long. February 2021 is when I got this book, and it's been sitting there for almost 2 years now, and I'm just not that interested. I've also heard from a lot of friends that this one's just really slow, and if I do ever decide to pick this one up, I think I'm just gonna go with the audiobook anyways, because my library does have this one available on audio, and so I just don't see myself reading this one anytime soon, so I'm gonna be unhauling it. Okay, so back to the Q&A. The next question says, what booktubers do you recommend that have the same thriller, horror, fun vibe as you? Because I love you. That's so sweet, thank you. I have so many booktube friends, and a lot of them do have very similar reading tastes to me, but some creators that I think you could enjoy if you like my content and if you're looking for somebody that has like more thriller and horror book recs too, I think Savannah from Riveting Reads, she's, you know, one of my faves, one of my closest friends on the internet, and she reads a lot of thriller and horror things. Also, Elizabeth from Reading Riley, she is also gonna be starting a, you know, thriller kind of horror feminist reads book club next year. That's gonna be very exciting. I can't wait to see all of her picks next year. And so she's also so awesome. She's a Capricorn. She's an Enneagram 6. Like, we just have so much in common. Also, I would recommend Ashley from Ashley's Little Library. I think not only do we have pretty similar reading tastes, and she reads a lot of horror and thriller as well, but God, Ashley's just so creative. Like, I always love watching her latest videos. Like, she's always doing something new and different and fresh, and it's so fun. And then also I would recommend Haley from Haley Hughes. She has the best energy. Oh my gosh, she's so much fun to watch, and she also reads a ton of like thriller and horror stuff. She reads a lot more of the like extreme horror. Like, she's a tough cookie, you know. I couldn't do it, but she reads a lot of the extreme horror. I thought that would be the perfect segue to bring up my friend Mikay over from Mikay's book vlogs. He also, like Haley, reads so much extreme horror, and he also reads a lot of, you know, regular horror and thrillers, and our tastes usually line up a lot as well. And then lastly, also my friend Jessie over from Bow Ties and Books. Their content is also really fantastic. We're also really close friends. They do so much creative content over on their channel, and even though not all of their videos relate to thriller and horror, they do read a lot of thriller and horror as well. The next question that I got is, if you could match a book to every member of BTS based on vibes, what would they be? Love this question. I love it so much. One of my favorite questions I've ever been asked. And I put an absurd amount of thought into these answers because I wanted them to be good answers. So for RM, Namjoon, I feel like I would pick We Spread by Ian Reid, not only because of the, the trees on this cover and the whole like nature vibe of this book anyways, but just because I feel like this would be a book that he would really appreciate if he read it, because if you didn't know, Namjoon is the reader of the group, like he is a big reader himself. I would love to discuss this book with him, and so I feel like this would be a good pick for him. And then for Suga, I think I would pick The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, because I feel like this book is probably as deep as he is. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is something that he's read. I know either him or RM or both of them have actually read this book and enjoyed it. So I just feel like now I associate this book with him in a way. And I feel like this book talks about really like heavy topics like depression and mental health and things like that. And I know that's something that Suga really cares about too. So I feel like this would be a perfect book for him. For J-Hope, I picked The Sun Is Also a Star, just because hearing this title about like the sun is also a star, it just brings me so much happiness, kind of like J-Hope does. And then I picked Ready Player One for Jin because, he's a huge fan of video games, and I just feel like he would really love this book and appreciate this book if he hasn't read it yet. And then for Jimin, I picked A Heartstopper because Jimin just makes me so happy, and he's so soft and so adorable, and this series is so soft and so adorable, and so naturally they just reminded me of each other. Okay, and then for Jungkook, I picked Red, White, and Royal Blue, and this is mostly because after I did that video where I recommended like a book for every BTS song or whatever, I chose Red, White, and Royal Blue for Jungkook's song My Time, and ever since then I've just really associated this book with Jungkook for some reason. I don't know what it is, it just happened. And then lastly for V, oh my gosh, I don't even know. I have two different answers because I don't know. I picked The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and I can't explain why. I just feel like this book just reminds me of him because I feel like this is something that he would really appreciate, especially since he's the kind of person that like loves like Paris and like New York and traveling and seeing the world. Like I just feel like this is something that he would really appreciate. But I also had to pick Love in the Time of Serial Killers because if you were around for my reading experience with this one, I was picturing V as the lead like romantic love interest in this book while I read it, and it really improved my life. Like, not gonna lie, it really just made me happy. So I had to mention this one for V as well. The next question says, what is your fondest memory of you and your sister growing up or as adults? And this is a question that I also really love. I was talking to Rachel about this because I was like, we have so many memories together that I was like, what would you say? And we just got into this whole like memory rabbit hole of all of the things that we've done together in our lives. And I mean, a huge thing that we've loved doing together all of our lives is like going to, Taylor Swift concerts together, or going, like, anytime Taylor Swift has like a big thing, like an album drop or like some kind of event or concert, we've always done those things together, and it's always like some of our best memories ever together. We were talking about this one memory when we were going biking together. This is when we were like little kids, and our old driveway in California, it used to be like a slope, like literally like a slope driveway, and it was so funny because I was sitting at the end of the driveway with my bike, like waiting for us to go, and then Rachel was coming down the hill in the driveway, and she just crashed straight into me. Like, oh my god, I was like, bitch, what the fuck, like move. And we were like little kids, and it was hilarious because I got like pinned to the ground, and my dad was like, what the heck is going on? It's crazy because I'm the older sibling and Rachel's the younger sibling, but we have the tendencies of the other. Like, I tend to act like the younger one sometimes, and she tends to act like the older one, because like there was a situation where we were like, I was maybe 5 and she was like 3, and she like bit me on the arm, and I like was screaming and ran to my mom, and I was like, Mom, she bit me. And my mom was like, well then bite her back. Like, I did not have an aggressive bone in my body as a kid. The next question says favorite non-coffee drink, and honestly that would probably be Sprite these days. I've been drinking a lot of Sprite, but I also really do love strawberry lemonade. I like Red Bull and like Red Bull chargers when it gets mixed with like flavors, and I also do like chai as well. And then another question says, what is a major goal you want to accomplish in the next year? And if this is like a personal goal that's like completely unrelated to YouTube, I feel like I really want to get better at traveling as a solo individual human, because right now at this time, I don't know if I'm the kind of person that could just like take a trip by myself. Like, my anxiety about doing things on my own is still pretty high. I've definitely been trying to get a little bit more out of my shell this year. Like, I'm taking baby steps, you know, like this year I've been going and traveling to like some areas by myself and kind of hanging out for a while, but not like staying the night anywhere by myself. But I think in 2023, I want to try to make it my goal that I can travel comfortably by myself somewhere and not have too much anxiety about it. Next books that I'm going to be unhauling include Cherish Farah. This is one that I actually found an ARC copy from my local bookstore like months ago when this book came out in February this year. And this is one that I was really intrigued by at first because, well, it is a young adult book, so I was like a little nervous about it, but otherwise it sounded like something that was going to be really interesting. This book has gotten like insanely low reviews on Goodreads and just from friends, and nobody seems to be really talking about this one anymore. So I'm like, okay, was it just not that, you know, not that interesting? It just didn't leave a big impression on people. Like, I don't really know, but now my interest for this one has gone down significantly because of those things. And then I'm also going to be unhauling The Haunting of Lee Harker by Darcy Coates. And this is mostly because of the fact that I read Darcy Coates for my book club earlier this year, and I realized that I really don't think Darcy Coates' writing style is for me. Her books can be considered like cozy horror books, if that makes sense, and I just really don't know if that's a genre that I'm interested in, at least not right now. I'm also sadly gonna be unhauling The Devil Crept In by Anya Alborn because as much as I enjoyed this book, you know, like this was another one where it was a 3-star for me. It was fine. It's a horror book that I enjoyed for the most part. I really liked the first half, and then the second half was just not that great in my opinion. But this is another case where I just don't really want to be taking this book with me to a new place and like carrying it as weight. And then 2 romance books that I'm going to be unhauling that I'm also kind of sad about. The first one is Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake, and this one was another one that was like 3 stars. It was fine. I just don't see myself, you know, I know there's a lot of people that love this one, you know, and I really wanted to love it, and I think that's why I'm sad about it, is because I immediately thought this would be a new favorite when I was reading this book, but it wasn't, and that's okay. It's just not for me, and I just want to pass on this book to somebody who is going to love it. And then also, Love on the Brain is going to be one that I'm going to be unhauling. I know this is like a recent fave, like everybody's loving this one, and I'm so happy for them because I wanted to love it desperately. I really wanted to love it, especially because of how much I love The Love Hypothesis, and this was another one where I didn't hate it. Like, it was fine, but I just don't see myself rereading it, and I want to pass it on to another home. All right, the next question says, what's your favorite outfit or clothing piece? This crew neck that I'm currently wearing just came from my friend Alicia, who's such a sweetheart, and I'm currently obsessed with this crew neck. It's like a Taylor Swift books, like all the books are Taylor Swift albums, and then there's like New York skyline, and Midnight's is even on this one. Isn't it so cute? I believe she got this one from Etsy. I don't know, I'm a hoodies person. I'm not really into fashion, but I do love a good hoodie, and lately I've been wearing this Literally Dead book club hoodie like almost every day. Like, I just love it so much. This is Kayla's book club merch from, you know, Literally Dead book club. Oh my god, I love it. And then also, I've been obsessed with this hoodie from Western. You know, this is the university that I went to for 1 quarter. I love this color, like maroon. I don't have a lot of things in this color. The next question says, what is the most unexpected part of having a successful YouTube channel? And honestly, the most unexpected part is when it comes time to pay taxes, because holy shit, there's so much that I don't know. And I feel like a lot of people don't know that when you're on YouTube, you get paid up front, and like none of that money is taxed throughout the year as you're getting paid. And then at the end of the year, the government goes whoosh and takes 30% of everything that you've made that year, basically. And so that was that was a learning curve, you know, especially when you start making a lot of money through YouTube. It's insane how much money you can owe with taxes. And so I feel like that's the most unexpected part of, you know, having success on YouTube that nobody really thinks about, is how it starts to become kind of a headache when you have to like hire an accountant, hire somebody to do your taxes, potentially get on a payroll so you can start paying yourself so that you can save money on taxes. It's just a whole freaking thing, you know? And I feel like that was something I definitely did not expect or anticipate with YouTube. The next question comes from my friend. He said, congrats, Gabby. What is the biggest challenge doing YouTube full time? I feel like, you know, kind of what I mentioned earlier about not really having coworkers and kind of being on your own a lot of the time can be really hard, you know? I feel like anybody that works from home a lot can relate to that feeling of like not having anyone around really during the day while you're working. I do miss the environment of having like friends and like coworkers just constantly around to talk to all the time. I feel like it's both a blessing and a curse to work for yourself, you know, especially for someone like me who's incredibly hard on myself, because it can be really hard for me to justify to myself that I deserve to take a break from something, especially when it comes to like YouTube things. I'm always like, well, if I'm reading this book, I should be filming it for a vlog, right? Because then if I'm not doing it, then like what's the point? I'm just missing out on content. And then it's like, I don't always want to be vlogging myself, but I always push myself to do it anyways because this is my job, you know? I don't know, it can be a challenge sometimes, and I don't think that doing YouTube or like any kind of social media job is as glamorous as people think that it is. But I don't take this shit for granted. I love what I do. I love that I get to do this full time. Like, I feel so grateful. The next question says, curious about asexuality, love how open you are. Can you see yourself in a relationship? I feel like asexuality for me is really confusing in general because I'm still trying to navigate exactly how I identify, because I don't even fully know, because for the past, you know, I don't know, my whole life, I haven't really been interested in a relationship, so I haven't really had time to explore those feelings and like what I'm feeling. But I don't know, the more that I, you know, read about it and the more that I look into it, I feel like I'm not aromantic. I feel like I don't relate as much to aromantic as I do with asexual. Like, I definitely know that I'm asexual, but I don't know if I'm aromantic or romantic. Like, I'm somewhere in the middle on that side. Like, I'm not the most romantic person ever, but I don't think that I'm aromantic because I do enjoy some romantic things. I feel like as far as like a relationship goes for me in the future, it would really just depend on who that person is that I would be in a relationship with. But I'm not against the idea of having a relationship in my life in the future. I just don't know, at least for right now, if that's something that I want. And the next question says, hi, have you been to a Taylor Swift concert? And yes, I have. I've been to 3 Taylor Swift concerts so far in my life. I went to the Red Tour, was the first tour that I ever went to, and then I went to 1989 in San Diego, and then I went to Reputation in Seattle. I did have tickets to Loverfest as well, but we all know that shit got canceled and my heart broke. So who knows, if she announces a Midnight's tour, it's over. I'm doing whatever I can to get tickets. All right, 5 more books that I'm going to be unhauling include The Ghost Tree by Christina Henry. This is a book that I have actually, oh my god, I've tried to read this like 3 times now, I think. And the most recent time that I tried to read this, I got over 200 pages into it before I DNF'd it, and I've DNF'd it every single time that I've tried to read this. It's like, this book is really interesting, I think, up until around page like 100 or 120, whenever it hits part 2, and then I'm just like, okay, this feels very fantasy now, and I'm bored. I'm sadly also going to be unhauling Funny You Should Ask, which is kind of a bummer because this is a book that I just got this summer. I've tried listening to this audiobook twice as well. I got about like 30% of the way in, and I was just like, okay, I don't care. So sadly, this one is just not for me, and so I realized that I'm gonna be unhauling it. This next one, this is kind of cheating, I think, because I'm only unhauling this next one because I have double copies of it, so I'm gonna be unhauling Mistakes Were Made. I have not even read this book yet, but the publisher sent me this arc earlier this year, which they were so kind to do so, and I really appreciate it. And then they actually sent me a finished copy as well, so now I have 2 copies of this book. So because I have this ARC copy and the finished copy, like, I don't need to keep both, you know? So I think I am going to be unhauling this to a friend who will probably enjoy it. And then these next 2 books that I'm unhauling were both books that I recently read for a video this summer that I did, where my sister picks my TBR, because it's The Cartographers and The People We Keep. These were both books that I read for that video, and again, these were both fine for me. These were both 3 stars, and honestly, the only reason why I've been keeping them since that video is because look at these covers. These are stunning. Like, I don't know why, even if a book is like not that great, you know, like a 3 star, I struggle to get rid of them if they're beautiful, because look at these. They're just stunning. Like, I just want them on my bookshelves because they look beautiful, but I'm like, Gabby, no. Like, you're not, like, what are you doing? They're just taking up space and you didn't even like them that much. So yeah, sadly, these are gonna go. I don't want to take them to the new place, you know? All right, next question says, how do you feel about BTS going to the military and not getting back together till 2025? And honestly, I am big sad, as you can imagine. I mean, I'm sure most BTS fans are probably pretty sad about this. If you're not really into BTS and you have no idea what the fuck I'm even talking about, recently BTS announced that they have to do their mandatory military enlistment, because if you didn't know, if you live in South Korea and you are like an able-bodied man, then you have to, like, required by law, you have to serve at least 2 years in the military before you're the age of 30. And the oldest member of BTS is turning 30 in December. So it's like, it's time. There's been a lot of debates going on in their country with the government debating whether or not they should be exempt because of how much, you know, because of how successful they are and how much money they've been bringing into the economy in South Korea. Like, there's a whole debate about it. You can literally go down a rabbit hole. BTS kind of took power back into their own hands. I'm really big sad. I mean, I'm obviously proud of them if this is something that they want to do. I think that that's great. I'm just sad that they're not going to be back together as a group until 2025 because that's such a long time. Like, I'm going to be 30 in 2025 and I'll still have never seen them live in concert. Like, that's really upsetting. The next question says, do you have any new plans or goals for the book troop next year? I do have some questions that I am going to post towards the end of the year, either on my main Instagram or my book troop Instagram, kind of asking for feedback on like what you would like to see more of for next year. But I do have some exciting book troop things happening before the end of this year. Around December, there's going to be some announcements, so stay on the look for that because I'm excited about that. The next question says, do you still feel pressured to have a really high number of books read each month? And yes, of course. The answer for that is yes, of course I do. I feel like every month when I do my wrap up, I am not only expected, but like I think people do, they come to my channel for book reviews, you know, and this is kind of like what I do now. So of course I feel an insane amount of pressure to have a certain number of books read per month. I feel honestly more pressure too about the fact that like I'm reading a lot of manga these days and I get a lot of kind of like, not like rude comments, but just people kind of being judgy about the fact that I read manga now, and it's just kind of like frustrating because I really do enjoy manga and I feel like I hate getting comments where people are just like, oh, you're just reading manga because then you can just like tally up your books quicker, make it seem like you're reading more than you actually are, or like people saying that those aren't actually books or stuff like that. Like, I hate comments like that. I think that's so judgy and just so like, let people love what they love. And if I enjoy reading manga, like, just let me enjoy reading manga. And if I'm gonna talk about it, like, you can skip it if you don't want to hear it. It's just frustrating getting comments like that a lot because manga and graphic novels are still books. They're not any different just because they have pictures. And that doesn't mean that they're for children or for teenagers. Like, people of all ages read manga and graphic novels, and it's just really hurtful when people say things like that. The next question says, aside from reading, what other hobbies do you enjoy doing? I have so many hobbies. I really love playing the guitar. I love you know, I'm really big into music. I used to play saxophone when I was in middle school in band, and so I'm a very like music person. That's why I love like Taylor Swift, BTS. Like, I'm really into music, and honestly just like discovering new music on Spotify, just like going through that Discover Weekly, listening to all the new music that comes out every Friday. Like, it's definitely a hobby of mine to just listen to music. I also most recently have been getting really into media journaling, which is basically where you like, you know, I don't know, take any media that you've been really into lately, whether that's like songs or movies or TV shows, and kind of do like reviews and kind of like almost like a scrapbook style of review for them in like a bullet journal. I actually did do an entire video on my Patreon for the month of October that was a video kind of going through this whole journal and kind of showing you what I've been up to and how I media journal. So if you do want to see that, I'll have that linked down below. The next 5 books that I'm unhauling include When the Sky Fell on Splendor by Emily Henry. This one is one that I'm big sad getting rid of this one. I'm not gonna lie, because this cover is everything. This is a book that I actually read earlier this year when I did a video that was like reading books like Stranger Things. It didn't end up working out very well. I gave this one 2 stars. I really don't think Emily Henry writing young adult is for me. I just don't tend to enjoy her young adult books, and this one was no different. So sadly, I'm gonna have to unhaul this one. I'm just mostly sad about it because I think this cover is absolutely stunning, like so beautiful. Another one that I think I'm gonna be unhauling is All Her Little Secrets. This is a thriller that I read earlier this year. I actually read it with Kayla for her Literally Dead book club, I think in April, and this is one that I did enjoy. This was a thriller that I gave 3 stars. It's just one of those thrillers that it's not gonna go down for me as like an all-time favorite. I had some things that I loved about it and some things that I didn't, and I just don't see any reason for me to hold on to this one any longer, so I think I'm gonna be unhauling this as well. And then these next 3 books are all book of the month books again that I have had sitting on my shelves for way too long, and that's just a really big sign to me that I'm just not gonna be reading these anytime soon, so I should be getting rid of them. Like, for example, How Not to Die Alone. This one has been sitting on my shelves since May 2019. Like, this book has literally been sitting on my shelves since I first moved into that apartment, like before even the pandemic happened. And like, I'm sorry, but if I haven't picked this book up for over 3 years, there's a reason for it. I'm just not gonna get around to it, and I feel like this is something I probably would have enjoyed a lot more like 5 years ago anyways. Like, this doesn't really seem like something that I would pick up these days. And then same goes for Head Over Heels. This one's been sitting on my shelves since July 2020, so a little over 2 years now, and this is a romance that at first I was really interested in it because I thought it was going to be more of like a forbidden romance, and I do like the idea of like a gymnastics kind of related romance book, but at the same time, there's always so many other romance books that I prioritize over this, and I'm never gonna get around to this, you know, like it's just not gonna happen. And this one's not even getting the highest reviews anyways, so I don't know if it would be something that's worth my time. I'm also gonna be unhauling Sky Falling, which this is one that I'm also kind of sad about because I was originally interested in this, but it's been sitting on my shelves since June 2021, so like a little bit over a year now. And on top of that, this book is another one that's just getting so reviews, and these days I'm like, if a book isn't getting like amazing reviews and it's something that's been sitting on my shelves for a long time, then I just don't see any reason for me to keep it. All right, the next question says, what's the video or thing that you've done as a booktuber that you're most proud of? I do love this question. I do have a playlist of videos that I've done called Best of Gabby Reads or something of that nature that I can link down below, but that's a playlist of all of the videos that I'm like the most proud of, or that I think have done the best on my channel, or just videos that I think are personally pretty cool. I feel like one of my favorite videos that I've done, at least for this year, was the video that I did with, you know, reading books like Stranger Things or like that kind of video, because that one is a video that I planned for months. Like there was a lot of time and effort put into making that video. The next question says, is there a chance that you personally meet some friends like Katie, Olivia, and Jordaline? Honestly, I would love to. Like I would love nothing more in this world than to meet booktube friends in real life. Like I would love to make that happen. Oh my gosh. The next question says, have you ever thought about making a second channel about movies? I love it. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I actually, when I was first starting on YouTube, my first channel that I ever had that was like my channel was a movie review channel. I only did like 3 movie reviews though, and then I just kind of figured like that wasn't really my particular niche. But if you weren't aware, I do have a movie podcast with my sister that's called Film Queens. It's on Spotify and like Apple, you know, Apple Podcast and like all of the things. So I'll have that link down below if you're interested. But yeah, me and my sister started a film podcast in March, so we have quite a bit of episodes if you're looking for something to listen to that's you know, us talking about movies and fangirling over movies. And the next question says, weird cube, I love the theme music on your videos. Can you drop the artist or song? Yes, of course. Thank you. It's called Always Been a Dreamer by Staffin Carlin. His music is like some of my favorite music to use in my videos, and that song Always Been a Dreamer is like one of my top favorites from him, and so I just thought it would be perfect for like the main theme of my channel. But yeah, Epidemic Sound has some good music over there. The next question says, favorite thing about BTS? I love that I get so many BTS related questions now. It's just so great. But for real, I think that my favorite thing about BTS is their positivity and like how genuine they are. I've never seen a boy band group be so wholesome in my whole life. It's hard to find, you know, in the celebrity world, it's hard to find people that feel so genuine and have such genuine like love and trust for each other too. Because I feel like so often in boy bands, there's a lot of like toxic kind of relationships, and one of them is always like trying to be the star. It's just so gross and so obnoxious, and I feel like celebrities can be so like, I don't know, social climbers and just like really toxic and gross like that. But I feel like with BTS, it's just so different. Like you can just feel the love that they have for each other, and like they're all just so humble and so kind and really genuine. Like I've never seen a more genuine group in my life. The next question says, what's the hardest thing you had to experience as a content creator? With this question, I want to kind of bring it back to what I was saying earlier, just about expectations, because I think the hardest part for me about being a content creator is managing people's expectations of me, you know, because like every time I post like a romance reading vlog, I'll have people being like, man, I wish you would read more thriller or horror books or something, you know, and then if I post too many horror vlogs, people will be like, where are your romance videos? Or if I post me reading manga, people will be like, I don't want you reading manga, like manga's for children, or blah, blah, blah. Just kind of the expectation that people have of me can be a little bit overwhelming and intimidating, especially because I read a few different genres that I feel like don't always mesh, like romance and horror. Like those usually are 2 different audiences, and so I feel like sometimes I feel like I have to please both kinds of audiences, and it can be overwhelming. Next question says, congrats, I'm new to BTS and need to know who your bias is. LOL, my current bias is J-Hope. Oh my gosh, I adore J-Hope so much. My current bias is Kim Namjoon, RM. RM is my bias. I adore him, but my bias wreckers are definitely V and Jungkook. I mean, it depends on the day, you know, because sometimes Jimin is my bias wrecker, sometimes J-Hope is my bias wrecker. I just have a lot of feelings. I just love them all so much. The next question says, what are your thoughts on the new Taylor Swift Midnights album? I absolutely love this new Midnights album. I love that it's basically, it feels like Reputation mixed with 1989 with like a touch of like the Folklore Evermore stuff too. And I just love it, you know, I really do love this album so much. I actually do have an entire video of me and my sister reacting to every song on Midnights, as well as all of the like, you know, release night chaos that I just posted over on my Patreon. The video itself is an hour and 16 minutes long, like holy crap. But if you want to see that, I'll have that linked down below. But yeah, Midnights is so good. If you've listened, I would love to know what your top faves are. I feel like for me, my top favorites right now, I think Karma is my favorite song on the album, but then I also really love Lavender Haze, Antihero, Maroon, Midnight Rain. Like there's just so many good ones, but those are the top faves right now. All right, so I'm gonna go through this last stack of books that I'm going to be unhauling. First one is going to be How Lucky, and this is a book that I feel like, you know, I've had this sitting on my shelves since May 2021, and because it's been a little bit over a year, I don't know. This is a book that I originally was intrigued by because it's like this contemporary story about this guy who doesn't leave his house. But I feel like this is something that I probably would have enjoyed a lot more if I had read it like 5 years ago. Like this just isn't something that I'm gravitating towards these days. And then I'm also going to be unhauling The Lifestyle, which this one is a more recent pick actually. This one's just from June this year. And this is one that I was kind of intrigued by, but I did start listening to the audiobook for this one and I got about 10% of the way in and I was like, okay, I don't know if I'm feeling this one. And then when I looked on Goodreads, this one's getting pretty low reviews, like shockingly low reviews. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's not going to be worth it then. I'm also going to be unhauling Outlawed because this one hurts me because this cover is beautiful. Like, is it not beautiful? Like, let's be real. The only reason I've really been keeping this on my shelves for so long is because of this cover and this spine. Like, beautiful. But this one's been sitting on my shelves since January 2021. And to be honest, I just really don't know if this one would be my thing or not because it takes place in 1894. And lately, you know, my historical fiction feel has just not been there. Like, I'm just not really in the mood to read things that are historical. And so this one, sadly, it just isn't screaming at me to keep it, you know? It's not gonna happen. Next one is gonna be also another one that's a little bit more recent, and it's The Unsinkable Greta James, because this one was from March 2022, so it was from earlier this year. This is another one where I feel like, you know, I don't know, my reading taste has been changing so much lately, and I feel like around 5 years ago, I was really, really into books like this that were kind of like contemporary, kind of literary fiction, coming of age type of stories. But lately, that's just not something that I'm super interested in. I'm discovering, like, lately, if a book doesn't fall into, like, horror, thriller, mystery, or romance, then usually I struggle with it. Like, it's usually not something that I'm, like, super excited about reading. So I feel like that's the main reason why I'm going to be getting rid of this one, just because it's not like a genre that I'm particularly interested in right now. Then same goes for this next book, which is The Unraveling of Cassidy Holmes. This is another one that has been sitting on my shelves for so long, since August 2020, and I haven't been hearing the best reviews about this one. You know, like, I saved it on my shelves for so long. It follows this girl pop group in America who is one of the hottest girl groups, and then I think it's about how one of the girls in the group commits suicide. And it just seemed like it would have been something that could have been really, like, interesting and hard-hitting, but also I, like, never heard anybody even mention this book when it was coming out, and this book is getting really low reviews on Goodreads too, and so now I'm like, I just don't know if this is something I would be interested in or not. And then these last two are ones that I'm also a little, like, sad about. The first one is The Gifted School. This one has been sitting on my shelves since July 2019. This one is also a book that came before COVID. And this is another one that I am intrigued by this book. I'm intrigued by the idea of it, but I have tried to read this book 2 times now. I've listened to the audiobook. I've only gotten about 10, maybe 15% of the way in, and then I get overwhelmed because there's so many characters and there's just so many words and pages, and I just can't seem, for some reason, I just can't seem to get into this book no matter how many times that I try. I also feel like I've seen this book mentioned quite a bit on Instagram, but for some reason on Booktube, I don't know if I've ever heard anybody talking about this book. Like, I've seen it get compared to, like, Big Little Lies, which is the reason why I was intrigued in the first place to read this one, but now I'm just like, I don't know, like, I don't have the same interest or the same, like, desire to pick this book up that I used to. And then this last one is one that I'm sad about, and if you can convince me to keep it, I might keep it, because it's Tell Me Everything. This one was a book of the month choice from March this year, and this one is kind of like a true crime book, and I guess that's the reason why I'm not interested in keeping this copy, because if I do end up reading this book, I'm probably just gonna listen to the audiobook anyways. I don't think I've ever physically read a book that's about a true crime case. Like, I just don't really see myself doing that. It's almost like with nonfiction, how I just prefer to read those kinds of things via audio, you know? Like, I much prefer listening to nonfiction audiobooks as opposed to like reading them with my eyes. And I feel like that's the case with this too. So even if I was going to read this one in the future, I would probably just listen to it on audio. All right, and then let's wrap up the last of these questions, shall we? If you had it to survive a zombie apocalypse with another booktuber, who would that booktuber be? Oh my god, I love this question. Okay, love the question. I feel like I don't know, like who would I survive the apocalypse with? Ooh, you know what? Maybe Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin. I feel like he would be a good person to have with you when you're going through like an apocalyptic situation, because I feel like Gavin just always like knows what to do, you know, like he's always on it. Like he's always making these videos where he goes and like stays the night at these like creepy castles and like creepy like churches, graveyards. Like he has so many cool ideas and he's so creative, and I feel like he would be the best person to have by my side during an apocalypse, right? Gavin is fearless. He's a lot braver than I am, so. Next question says, have you ever been to Massachusetts, or is it on your bucket list? Oh my gosh, I wish. It's definitely on my bucket list. I've always wanted to go to Boston. Like Boston is one of those cities that I've always had a desire to go to. I have done some East Coast things. I did a Washington DC trip when I was in middle school, and we went to like some of the states around there, you know, like I went to Pennsylvania, and then I've taken 2 trips to New York, so I've done some East Coast travel, but no, I've never been to Massachusetts or Boston, so I would love to go to that area at some point in the future. The next question says, what book are you most looking forward to reading in 2023? Oh my gosh, there are so many. I'm so excited. I'm already making a list. Happy Place by Emily Henry, and also of course The Only One Left by Riley Sager. He announced his next book is going to be coming out next June, and even though his last 2 have been misses for me, he's still one of my favorite authors that I will continue to read everything that he writes. There's also How to Sell a Haunted House, the new Grady Hendrix that's coming out in January that I'm so excited about. Next question says, when you finish a book, do you start another one right away, or do you have to process the previous one? And honestly, this really depends on the book that I just finished, because there are some books that leave a huge impression on me that I like need to take time to process, like sometimes even days or weeks. Cough, a little life. But then there are some books that I finish it and then I can just jump right into the next thing because it doesn't really leave a lasting impact on me. Like it really depends on the book. All right, and the last question says, if you could pick any book to be made into a film or series, which one would you choose? And I do love this question because there are so many book to movie adaptations coming out or like in the works right now for some of my all-time favorite books, which makes my heart so happy. Like Evelyn Hugo, Red, White, and Royal Blue. Like there's so many adaptations. Like even The Cabin at the End of the World, a book that is not currently, or at least I don't know if it's being adapted. It was talked about a long time ago, but I haven't heard anything since like 2016. But that is Vicious by V.E. Schwab. I would literally, I would give anything to see this as like a limited series. I would die to see this on maybe like HBO, maybe Netflix, I don't know, something a little bit like that would allow it to be kind of dark and gritty, and I would love this. This would be like superheroes, but for like the dark academia bitches, you know what I'm saying? Like, like seeing Victor Vale and Eli Ever come to life, like that would just be everything that I need in this world. So I'm gonna need Vicious to get adapted like as soon as possible. I don't care if it's like a movie series, maybe if they want to do like 3, maybe 2 to 3 movies of like Vicious, Vengeful, and like all that, or if they want to do like a limited series, I think that would be perfect. Well, those are all the books that I'm unhauling today and all of the questions that I'll be answering today, so thank you so much to anybody who sent in a question. I appreciate you so much. Look at these fat stacks over here of books that I'm unhauling. You know, it does feel good to be unhauling books, especially when I am in the process of moving, because moving books is hard. You know, moving books takes a lot of muscle and motivation, and that's why I feel like I get especially like eager to unhaul books when I'm going to be moving, because I just think, do I really want to carry all this weight up the stairs? Because my next bedroom is going to be on a 2nd floor. So I'm like, okay, do I really want to take all of these up there? Like, which ones do I want to take? So yeah, that is all of the things. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for 80K. Oh my gosh. And thanks. I will see you next time. Bye.